Overload is real, and we need to do our best to avoid toxins and become really serious about supporting our body's detoxification process if we are if we are to save ourselves from chronic disease progression. I have been talking about toxins in the last this series of sessions that I've been doing. My name is Anindita, and I am a functional medicine certified health coach and a functional medicine practitioner, and I help women with autoimmune conditions reverse their symptoms with their bodies as their guide. So I first became aware of the impact that toxins have on our health. In other words, how they ruin our health. When I was doing some research way back in 2014 to help reverse my daughter's severe eczema, right? This was way before we were talking about toxins and climate change, etc. for most of us, and I had no idea. I had simply no clue that the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the products that we slather on our bodies, they are inundated with chemicals, and what kind of impact it has on it, and thousands of chemicals. And when I became aware of it, I started switching to greener and non-toxic products, but I'm talking about 2014, and it was easier said than done. Right, I remember, when I wanted to change from the regular laundry detergent that we use, name all the brands that you might be using currently, and when I wanted to move to a more natural, detergent, I couldn't find anything in the market at that time, right, in the Indian market. So I had to actually settle for soap nut, which is also called Vita. It has been used traditionally over generations, but it's hard to use it in a washing machine. And I started using actual handful of Vita in a muslin bag, because that's what was available at that time, and put it in the washing machine. And that was my laundry detergent. Obviously, it was not as efficient as the regular detergent, because it's not meant to be used like that. But that's how determined I was to make that switch. I was determined to reduce our toxin exposure at home. Because at home is our immediate environment, and we are exposed to thousands of chemicals all around us, and this was where I wanted to start. So and over the years, of course, it has become easier and easier to do that, right? There are so many products, and but I'm going to talk about a bit more about what toxin overload is, what body burden is, and why you need to know about it. See, in the past, toxin exposure was limited to your profession. So for example, if you were a coal miner, and you would have problems if you inhaled coal dust, or if you have heard about the idiom as mad as a hatter, that came about because at that time in the 18th and the 19th century, those who were in the profession of making felt hats were exposed to mercury vapors, and that led to mercury poisoning, which meant that they displayed symptoms like tremors, trembling, hallucinations in extreme cases, slurred speech, and so they were basically like kind of insanity, which is why this term came about as mad as a hatter. However, with the explosion of industrial outputs and products, in the modern world, in the last several decades, all that has changed, and now all of us are exposed to thousands of chemicals every single day, right? And body burden is a key concept that we all need to grasp in order to fully appreciate the effort that we need to put in to minimize the impact of toxins on our health, right? And it refers to the total amount of toxins in your body at any given point in time. And no one, absolutely no one, is exempt from this toxic load in their bodies, and not even newborn babies actually. Studies have shown that in fact babies who are being born are already carrying up to 300, as many as 300 different chemicals in their bodies, and even that breast milk is filled with various environmental toxins. This is not to say that we should not be breastfeeding our infant, but it is more of preparing our bodies for pregnancy, right? I didn't know all this when I gave birth to my children 16 and 12 years ago respectively, but if you are looking if you are getting pregnant or planning to do that, then this is a good place to start, right? And children, actually, the unfortunate reality is that children are the ones who get most affected by this, because the immune system, the detoxification system, all the organs are still developing. So when they get exposed to toxins, whether it's through food or products, they get impacted the most, right? And the other thing is, toxin intolerance is individual. It's particularly individual, which is why you can have 3 people who might be chain smokers and only one getting cancer, right? The other 2 might live up to be 100, because it depends on a number of things, and it is completely individual as to how much they can tolerate, what symptoms they display, what kind of diseases that may or may not take place, right? And because we are designed to excrete toxins, to manage and excrete toxins all the time. It's not that our bodies don't know how to do this, and we're doing it all the time, actually, through our sweat, through urine, through our tears, through the skin, through hair, fingernails, breath. We are excreting toxins all the time. However, whatever we cannot or do not excrete gets stored, right? And we all have different abilities. It's just that the kind of toxin exposure that the kind of toxins that we exposed to, the sheer number of toxins that we exposed to, our bodies were not have not evolved to deal with, which is where the problem lies. So again, we all have different abilities to deal with and excrete toxins, and it depends on our genes, it depends on our environment, it depends on the kind of toxins we're exposed to, and of course our nutrient status, right? So the important thing to understand also is that it's not about avoiding toxins 100%, but it's about reducing our load, right? So because what I found is over years of coaching is that when people mistakenly believe that toxins are unavoidable, which they are, they sort of give up. But while the exposure is unavoidable, what we can do is reduce our exposure by changing our environment, starting with our homes and our kitchen. And so when people realize this, then they make better choices, safer choices in terms of food and other products. And this is in fact one of the things that I focus a lot with my own coaching clients. And for example, I teach them how to read the ingredients labels in any kind of packaged products, whether it's food or other personal care product or any other product for that matter, and focusing on things that are within our control, which in this case the products that we purchase can minimize our exposure to toxins, right? And one of the most important things to again understand as far as this is concerned is that your skin is like a giant mouth. So whatever your skin comes in contact with, whether it's a moisturizer, whether it's soap, whether it's shampoo, anything that you slather on your skin will get absorbed pretty well, right? Which is why we have nicotine patches, hormone therapy, all happening through skin absorption. So obviously one of the most important areas that you need to clean up will be your personal care products, right? And I'm going to share with you a few examples of the most common toxins that are found not only in your personal care products but in products all over your house, so that you become aware of what are the things that you need to look out for. This is obviously not an exhaustive list by any means, but it will give you an idea as to what kind of toxins that you might be exposed to on a daily basis. So the first category is persistent organic pollutants. These toxins enter our bodies primarily when the food is prepared on its surface, which means in your non-stick cookware, the PFAs, PFOA and PFTE. These are found in mostly non-stick and stain-resistant cookware, and even other actually water-repellent products like water-resistant clothing, pizza boxes, microwavable popcorn bags. I actually don't allow my children to have those microwave popcorn. We make popcorn right from scratch. So these are some of the things that we need to look out for as far as PFTA and PFTE is concerned. So moving from non-stick to other kind of cookware is extremely important. These are actually carcinogenic in nature, leading to cancer. Then you have the bisphenols, which is the BPA, and the BPE, other BPE, which is something that there has been some level of awareness about it. So now you have BPA free plastic. These are typically found in plastic, and they disrupt the entire endocrine system, which is your so basically the hormonal balance that needs to be maintained by your body, and it has an adverse impact on the reproductive system of children in particular. And this can cause multiple issues like weight gain, obesity, neurological symptoms, etc. And again, this is found in plastic products, in food cans, containers, baby bottles, right, toys, and many other things, soothers. But it's not important, it's not enough to simply move from a BPA free plastic, sort of BPA plastic to a BPA free plastic, because there'll be similar kind of issues with those kind of plastics as well. It's best to avoid plastic altogether, these kind of products altogether, and switch to glass or steel counterparts, all of the products that our earlier generations used to use. Then you have another category called phthalates. Phthalates are all found in many different products, once again, and including plastic food containers, children's toys, cosmetics, makeup or personal care products, and typically in the especially the ones that contain the artificial fragrances and perfumes. So a good reason to avoid any product with fragrances, artificial fragrances. My preference has always been to stick to products which are more essential oil based, and they will specifically mention. And in fact, I love lighting candles at home, but I'm very particular about the quality of the wax, which is typically soy, that I use, and more importantly the fragrances that I used, right? Because your home can be actually more polluted than your external environment because of these kind of products, and candles is a good example of that. So because they are filled with these artificial fragrances containing phthalates, so when you light them, they spread all over the house. So only looking for essential oil based candles and products would be the best thing to do. Then you have preservatives like parabens, methyl parabens, propyl parabens. They are found in whole host of personal care and other products, shampoos, conditioners, anti-deodorants, all kinds of products. And they work as preservatives. Parabens work as preservatives, but again, it's been associated with wheezing and eczema in children. So again, something to completely avoid whenever possible. So you have a lot of options that are available nowadays where you can move from these kind of products to non-toxic and greener alternatives. Triclosan used to be very common in toothpaste for that matter. So if you're looking at ingredients in your toothpaste, make sure that it doesn't have triclosan in it. Hand sanitizers, hand washes, again it's antimicrobial, antibacterial in nature, but it's another endocrine disrupting chemical, which means that it disrupts the hormonal balance in your body. And these are just many of the thousands of chemicals that your family and you are exposed to on a daily basis. So it is alarming, I know. I was kind of overwhelmed and alarmed when I came to know about all these categories of toxins, whether it's BPA, whether it's phthalate, they all have their own issues. One can lead to cancer, the other can lead to obesity, weight gain, neurological issues, all kinds of other diseases, eczema, allergies, ADHD, autoimmunity. All these diseases cannot be simply explained by genes or say only diet. Toxins have a huge role to play in that too, right? So all of these categories, it's overwhelming and it's alarming. I was completely alarmed when I came to hear about this, but taking baby steps is where you need to start, right? So these series that I'm doing right now is to give you and sort of overview as to what you can do. Thank you for joining, Lavina, and I'm unsure about your name. If you have any questions, do drop in the comments below. So all this while I've been talking about how what kind of toxins that you're getting exposed to and what to look out for, right? Now we come to the meat of the issue, of the topic today that I'm talking about, is to how you can support your body's detoxification process. So because again, we absolutely need to avoid toxin exposure, right? Minimizing toxin exposure, avoiding as many toxins that we are taking in, whether we are inhaling, eating, ingesting, slathering in. So we need to absolutely continue to do that. At the same time, we also need to promote clearance and detoxification from our bodies, right? That's also important. And again, I have mentioned this, the clearance, the way we deal with toxins, which is toxin intolerance, toxin clearance, resilience, all of it depends on that unique individual. But there is much that we can do to promote that, right? These are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're trying to support your body's detoxification process. The first thing, and I'm talking about diet here because nutrition, your nutrition status matters a lot. You cannot simply produce these nutrients in your body, you need to be taking them from food. But these are some of the key things that you need to keep in mind. One is, obviously, now that sort of I've been discussing the kind of toxins that we are taking in every single day, then it makes sense to make sure that as much as possible we switch to organic produce, whether it comes to vegetables, fruits, or groceries. It's not going to be, I don't want you to think that it's all or nothing. Do the best that you can, because it may not be possible. I also haven't managed to completely switch to 100% organic produce, and that's not really the goal. It's to do the best that you can. So whether it's fruits, vegetables, lentils, pulses, whatever you might be purchasing, just make sure that as much as possible switch to organic produce, and eat local and seasonal produce. They are much higher in nutrients than things, than food which has been shipped over thousands of kilometers, right? Or which has been frozen over months. Secondly, improving overall nutritional status by limiting processed foods filled with preservatives, colorings, additives. I spoke in the last live session last Friday how these are all toxins and how they impact our health. So limiting our intake will itself help improve our overall nutrition status. And of course, having a nutrient dense diet, which means a whole lot of vegetables and plants and healthy animal proteins and fats. Cruciferous vegetables are really good for liver health, and they really promote detoxification. So whether it's your cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, there's a whole list of vegetables that you can actually consume on a regular basis. In fact, the clients that I work with, they have multiple health issues, autoimmunity, chronic conditions. I know that their body struggles to actually clear toxins from their system. So I ensure that they are having these kind of cruciferous vegetables almost every single day, maybe for a meal, right? So you can never have enough of them. High quality sulfur containing vegetables, that's also really helpful. With sulfur containing vegetables like eggs, onion, leek, garlic. These are just a few of the vegetables that you can use. In Indian cooking, we use quite a bit, some of these on a regular basis. Detoxifying and anti-inflammatory herbs and spices. Again, something that we typically use in Indian cooking. So continue to use a variety of herbs and spices in your cooking. Plenty of fiber necessary to avoid constipation, which means that it's kind of that, the drain gets blocked. Think of your kitchen sink. If it gets blocked, then all the waste actually piles up into the basin, into the sink itself, which is the same thing that happens in our bodies when we are constipated. So making sure that toxin pathway is cleared is extremely important. So again, when I'm working with a client and they have constipation, it is one of the first things that I work on, because I know that everything else will be fine, but first we need to make sure that the body is able to excrete all the toxins. The other thing is to hydrate yourself. Again, water is extremely important for toxin clearance. And last but not the least, just having all different colors of the vegetables and fruits. And these are just some of the other things that you need to keep in mind, apart from just the diet. One is that improving gut health the gut is terrific in removing certain kind of not only ingested toxins but also toxins that are produced by our body itself. So gut health is key, and focusing on that really makes sense. Chronic stress, right? We talking about diet, we talk about toxins, all of it, but we must not forget that chronic stress, not stress is not bad, stress is not evil. It's when we are dealing with chronic stress, that's something that we need to take care of. And there are so many different tools that you can that you have at your disposal, whether it's self-care, and it's it typically is a combination of everything, right? So whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's any kind of restorative movement, so there's so many different ways, journaling, etc., to take care of stress and basically take care of your stress response, right? We often don't realize that what we mean by stress is not so much removing stress from our from our lives. That may not be always possible, of course, but improving our stress response, working on how we are responding to stress, that itself makes a huge difference, so that bodies are not overwhelmed by that, immune system is not ramped up. So all of it has an effect on how we are able to work at an optimal level, which also includes toxin clearance. Lack of sleep I find is often really overlooked. So we talk about so many different things, but I find that in today's fast-paced world, sleep is something that we often take for granted, and we think that we can make do with 4-5 hours, and etc., etc. It's on. In fact, I find that some people talk about it as a matter of pride, that they're so busy that they are not able to prioritize sleep, and that's a huge mistake. Again, there may be some people who can get away with it for a while, but usually it does catch up, whether it's with neurological health issues or with other health issues. And remember that you are one person, right? You are not made up of discrete body parts and organs. Everything talks to everything else, so everything is interconnected. So what's happening in your brain is affecting your gut. What is happening in your gut is affecting your brain. They talk to each other all the time. All other organs are talking to each other with the help of neurotransmitters, with the help of hormones. We say that it's a hormone soup that we live in, and all of it is so they all impact each other, right? And sleep is a huge piece of that puzzle. So if we are focusing on diet, if we are focusing on exercise, if we are focusing on stress, but we don't have a proper sleep routine, we don't have enough sleep, it eventually catches up with us, right? So that is also important in managing or helping with toxin clearance. And and of course I talked about constipation. I talked about making sure that some of the toxin pathways are clear, which includes constipation, sweating, urination, and breathing, right? All of these are also ways that we get rid of toxins from our body. So breathing is a big part of it. It's not just about meditation. Breathing has many benefits. I'm not getting into that today, but all of these are very, very important aspects of making sure that you are able to lower the toxic load or toxin load on your system. And at the same time, the second part of that equation is to support your body's detoxification process. Both go hand in hand. It's not either or, simply because you cannot avoid exposure to toxins. You can of course continue to reduce it, starting with your home, and I've taken you through some of the steps that you can take. And secondly is obviously focusing on what you can do to support your body's toxin clearance. If you have any questions, any comments, if you're watching this on replay, make sure that you drop in your questions below. Thank you for joining us. Is it Rohini? I don't know, not able to see the name. So if you have any questions, do drop in. Also, last but not the least, I am hosting a masterclass on this topic. It's called Reducing Toxin Overload and Making Your Home a Safe Place. So where I will delve much deeper into, it's a 1.5 hour session. I'll be delving deeper into these topics and giving you practical steps to make your home a safe place. If you are interested in that, I'm hosting it next Tuesday at 5 p.m. head to anindita.com/toxin masterclass. anindita.com/masterclass, and I will see you there.